Hey, 42 here. Imagine you're on holiday in a little town on the French Riviera. You've had a long, lazy day of sightseeing, sunbathing, and sampling tasty food. The sky is blue, the sun is warm, the water is sparkling, and you just feel about on top of the world. And the best way to finish up such a glorious day? A slap-up meal in a local restaurant, of course, where you order delicious, freshly caught Seabream, perhaps washed down with a glass of wine, before wandering back to your hotel for a long, peaceful sleep. Except, what if that bream turned out to be harbouring something rather unexpected? For one 40-year-old man holidaying in France back in 1994, it did. He started feeling a bit nauseous about 2 hours after his dinner, and probably thought he had food poisoning. Not great, but it happens. The next day, things got worse, with vomiting, blurred vision, and muscle weakness. Realizing he wasn't in a good way, he figured it was time to end his holiday early and drive home. But it quickly became clear that wasn't going to be an option, because surrounding him, inside his car, was a cloud of giant screaming insects. After doing a bit of screaming himself, he ended up in hospital, where he spent 36 hours before being released with a clean bill of health. So what had happened? Was it something he'd eaten? Well, yes. It turns out that Seabream he consumed wasn't any old fish, but a particular species called Sarpa salpa, which just so happens to be hallucinogenic. In Arabic, this species of Seabream is known as the fish that makes dreams, because it causes vivid, sometimes terrifying hallucinations in those who eat it. But not everyone who eats hallucinogenic Sarpa salpa does it by accident. Hearing of this mysterious fish, back in 1960, a National Geographic photographer named Joe Roberts set out to deliberately trip on Seabream. A chef cooked it up for him with stewed pumpkin. He ate it up and reclined in his seat to await fishy bliss. Perhaps because he knew what was coming, he had a much more pleasant experience. Roberts reported seeing a new kind of car that was steered with a stick like a plane. Now I come to think of it, maybe Elon Musk has been eating some Sarpa salpa. And then he found himself taking pictures of a monument marking man's first trip into space. Roberts said afterwards, it was pure science fiction. And he isn't alone. The tradition of getting high on fish goes back thousands of years. Some researchers suspect Romans got off their tits on Seabream whenever they got the chance, and it's certainly plausible. Sarpa salpa is found throughout the Mediterranean and East Atlantic, so it was definitely swimming in Roman seas, which at the height of the Roman Empire was basically all of the seas. Also, the Romans weren't exactly shy when it came to intoxicants. The average daily wine consumption in the Roman Empire is thought to have stood at around a bottle a day per person, and it was drunk by everyone, including slaves and children. They, along with the Greeks, were also rather fond of opium, using it both as a painkiller and a pleasant sedative. It wasn't at all unusual for Romans to drink opium-based Cretic wine to help them sleep at night, and opium was freely available for market stalls across Rome. The opium poppy seed also features heavily in Greek and Roman mythology. In Homer's Odyssey, Helen of Troy spikes some wine with a drug that took away painful memories and the bite of pain and anger. Reading between the lines, most historians think this was opium. One Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius, was even known to be a full-blown opium addict. So the Romans were no strangers to mind-altering substances. Where they all sat around eating fish to get high, it's fun to imagine, and it's certainly possible, but it's probably more likely that they accidentally stumbled into Sarpa salpa-induced trips, just like the men in the French Riviera at the beginning of our video. You see, it's actually kind of hard to deliberately trip out on Sarpa salpa, because not every specimen you find in the seas causes hallucinations. If they did, perhaps they'd be illegal, and there'd be a roaring black market trade in Seabream. Of course, it's quite the opposite. It's commonly sold in restaurants and markets around the Mediterranean and beyond. But exactly how a Seabream becomes hallucinogenic is still a matter of some debate, though scientists have some interesting ideas, the primary one being that the hallucinogenic properties derive from phytoplankton that live on seagrass and make up a significant part of the fish's diet. This particular algae causes hallucinogenic toxins to sit inside the fish's organs, which, if the levels are high enough, can cause tripping amongst unsuspecting fish eaters. We know there are more reports of hallucinations after eating sarpa during the spring and summer, when phytoplankton blooms peak as the sunlight penetrates the murky water and encourages growth. We also know you're more likely to end up tripping after eating sarpa if you eat its head, as that's where the hallucinogenic toxins are most likely to accumulate. So perhaps if more people ate fish heads, there would be more folk walking around having conversations with invisible flying penguins. We don't actually know what toxins cause these hallucinations, but our best guess is it's a chemical called DMT, which just so happens to be the active ingredient in ayahuasca, a psychoactive brew used in ancient shamanic rituals. And DMT just so happens to grow on algae. If you're thinking of carrying out your own research, not that I suggest you do, you'll know a sarpa by its distinctive gold stripes. Whilst it's usually found in warmer waters, the occasional lonely specimen is known to make its way further north. In 2009, a Cornish fisherman named Andy Giles caught one, telling the Daily Telegraph, "Now I realise what it was and the effects it can have, perhaps I should have taken it into town to sell to some clubbers." But sarpa isn't the only hallucinogenic fish in the sea. There's even a name for the effects that they cause when eaten, which looks like this. And instead of trying to pronounce that, I'm just going to refer to it as tripping one's balls off. Over in Hawaii, there's the nightmare Veke, a hallucinogenic goatfish. Legend has it that Pahalu, the god of nightmares, was killed by an enemy with a stone to the back of the head, causing him to fall into the sea, where his spirit jumped into a Veke fish, which apparently explains why you'll have nightmarish visions if you eat one today. As well as hallucinations, eating nightmare Veke can cause sweating, tingling, and tightness of the chest. As with sarpa, it's thought that the nightmare Veke gets its hallucinogenic properties from the algae that it eats, and, again, it's suspected that eating the head is the main culprit. In reality, eating hallucinogenic fish is relatively safe, with no long-lasting ill effects. Still, I wouldn't recommend it. However, sarpa and the nightmare Veke pale in comparison to other sea life that can cause a condition known as ciguatera poisoning, which not only gives you hallucinations but causes food poisoning symptoms like vomiting and diarrhea, but it also causes numbness, vertigo, hypertension, heart problems, and the most delightful item on every list of symptoms, death. Ciguatera sufferers are commonly misdiagnosed with multiple sclerosis before it's eventually linked to a dodgy fish dinner. Though the symptoms usually subside after a few weeks, some people never recover and are permanently disabled. Even for those who do recover, a relapse can happen years down the line. And it can even be sexually transmitted. That's right, you can get a fishy disease even if you've never eaten fish in your entire life. You can usually contract this disease from fish from tropical or subtropical reefs, including many that you'll see on plenty of beach restaurant menus like sea bass, snapper, and perch. Like other toxic fish, it's caused by their diet. Not algae this time, but the single-celled organism, Gambiodiscus toxicus. But if you manage to get through life and avoid death by Seabream or snapper, there's always the poison tasty fish, the notorious fugu. One bite of the wrong part of this pufferfish will send the potent neurotoxin tetrodotoxin rushing through your veins, which paralyzes you, causing you to stop breathing and die. There is no known antidote. Delightful, and yet people actually eat this stuff. But whilst pufferfish may be deadly to humans, one particular marine creature uses them to get off its fishy tits. A film crew following a dolphin pod in 2013 was surprised to find the dolphins playing with a pufferfish, encouraging it to release its toxic chemicals in self-defense. Then, rather than being scared off, the dolphins lapped up the neurotoxin and subsequently entered a drugged-up trance-like state, during which they spent hours seemingly mesmerized by their own reflections in the water. The oceans are full of hazardous fish, and whilst I certainly wouldn't recommend emulating the dolphins and scouring the waters for little spiky balloons of death, if you do happen to tuck into a piece of Seabream on a Mediterranean beach and start to feel funny, strap yourself in for an interesting couple of days. Thanks for watching. Check out my new podcast, Random Interesting Facts, available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Link in the description below. Thanks.